Have you ever prayed until your voice broke, yet heaven stayed silent? You looked at the ceiling, waiting for something, anything to move, but all you heard was your own heartbeat echoing in the dark. There are moments in life when even the most devoted hearts feel abandoned, when faith trembles beneath the weight of unanswered prayers. But what if the silence isn't punishment? What if it's invitation? What if heaven's quiet isn't God ignoring you, but God shaping you? Because real faith isn't proven when you get what you asked for. It's proven when you still believe after the answer doesn't come. Faith doesn't die in silence. It's reborn there. Part 1. The cry that moves heaven. Faith often begins in the sound of a breaking heart, not in sermons or theology, but in tears whispered in the dark when everything feels lost. The first level of faith is the faith that asks, the kind that cries, "Lord, please help me." It's the faith of a mother sitting beside a hospital bed, holding her child's frail hand as the machines hum, of a young man staring at an eviction notice and whispering, "God, do you see me?" Of a believer kneeling in a silent room, begging heaven to answer just once. Most of us start here not with courage, but with need, not with power, but with emptiness. And yet this is the soil where faith first takes root, because God listens not to eloquence, but to honesty. Heaven stops not for loud prayers, but for true ones. Scripture shows it again and again. Blind Bartimaeus shouted, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." The crowd tried to silence him, but his desperate cry broke through the noise, and Jesus stopped. Not because of the volume, but because of the sincerity. The woman who had bled for 12 years pushed through the crowd just to touch his garment. She said nothing, yet her trembling hand became her prayer, and power left him. Faith that asks is beautiful but fragile. It can move mountains, yet trembles at the first sign of silence. It wants answers. And when answers don't come, it doubts. But even then, God does not turn away. He bends down. He listens. He waits not to test you, but to teach you. When we first believe, God often gives quick miracles, not because He must, but because He is kind. As we grow, He begins to delay, not to punish us, but to draw us deeper. If every prayer were answered instantly, we would trust the result instead of the relationship. That's why this stage is both holy and dangerous. The faith that only asks will one day run out of words. But when it learns to stay to listen after asking something, begins to bloom. If today you find yourself crying out for help, don't be ashamed of weakness. God never despises small faith. He meets it. Let your tears become your prayer, your silence, your altar. And when the words end, stay a little longer. Because sometimes the greatest act of faith is not when heaven answers, but when heaven pauses and your heart still believes. Part 2, the trust that stands in the dark. There comes a season when heaven grows quiet. You pray, you wait, you cry, but nothing seems to move. The miracle doesn't come. The doors don't open, and the silence feels heavier each day. It's in that silence that the second level of faith begins, the faith that trusts. This kind of faith isn't built in the sunlight of answered prayers, but in the night where all light fades. It's born when asking no longer satisfies the soul. When you've run out of words but not out of hope, it's not loud anymore. It breathes softly. Lord, I still believe, even here. Abraham knew this kind of night. God promised him a son, yet years passed and his body aged beyond strength. Still, he built altars in the waiting, whispering, "The one who promised is faithful." Job walked this same path. Everything was taken, his health, his family, his wealth, yet he said, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." That's not blind faith. That's faith forged in fire. And today, we still face that same fire. A mother prays for healing that never comes. A young man keeps sending resumes, but no one calls back. A believer kneels every night for restoration and hears nothing but the echo of his own heartbeat. These are not moments of divine neglect. They are invitations to deeper trust. Because trust begins where understanding ends. When you can't trace his hand, you learn to trust his heart. Faith that trusts is not about getting what you want. It's about holding on to who God is. You begin to realize that even silence has a pulse, and even waiting has a voice. At this level, prayer becomes less about asking and more about abiding. You say less and listen more. You start recognizing God not in the thunder, but in the still small whisper inside your spirit. You stop measuring his presence by what you feel and start anchoring it in what you know he is faithful. There's a quiet power in those who trust God in the dark. They still show up, still worship, still choose kindness when bitterness would be easier. They lift their hands in surrender even when no song can escape their lips. That kind of faith doesn't make noise, it makes roots. Maybe you're there now in the waiting, the silence, the ache of unanswered prayer. Don't mistake God's stillness for his absence. He's closer in the dark than you've ever realized. The miracle you're waiting for might still be on its way, but what he's building in you now is far greater endurance, peace, and unshakable trust. Because a faith that's never been tested will never be trusted. So keep walking, keep believing, keep trusting, even with tears in your eyes. One day you'll look back and see that the silence that once terrified you became the soil that made your faith strong. The dark didn't destroy you, it defined you. A faith untested cannot be trusted. Part 3, the stillness that births strength. There comes a sacred moment in every believer's journey when faith no longer needs noise to feel alive. After the storms of asking and the long nights of trusting, something changes inside. The soul stops fighting for control. The heart grows quiet, and peace begins to whisper through the cracks of surrender. This is the third level of faith, the faith that abides. At this level, faith is no longer about getting answers, but about staying connected. It's the stillness that births strength, the kind that doesn't demand proof because it already knows presence. Jesus explained it beautifully, abide in me, and I in you. A branch doesn't strain to bear fruit, it simply stays attached to the vine. When the connection is unbroken, life flows naturally. That's how abiding faith works. It doesn't strive, it remains. You begin to realize that God is not just someone you visit in prayer. He becomes the very atmosphere you breathe. You sense him in small things, in the sunrise that meets your exhaustion, in the kindness of a stranger, in the quiet conviction that your life still has meaning even when nothing around you changes. Prayer shifts from pleading to communion. You stop asking, when will you move, and start whispering, stay with me here, in this stillness. Faith grows roots that storms can't reach. You stop fearing what's next because you have learned that nothing can separate you from the one who holds all things together. Even pain becomes sacred ground. You begin to see how every delay, every disappointment, every silence was never meant to break you, but to bind you closer to his heart. The miracle is no longer external, it's internal. It's the peace that stays when the world shakes. Jesus himself showed us this faith in the Garden of Gethsemane. In the agony of knowing what was to come, he still said, not my will, but yours be done. That wasn't resignation, it was alignment. The moment his will and the Father's will became one, the victory was already won. That's the power of abiding faith that turns surrender into strength. And when you reach this place, you stop chasing signs and start reflecting his character. You love people who can't repay you. You forgive before being asked. You give without being noticed. You live, not from fear of losing, but from the bait of belonging. This is where faith becomes effortless, not because life gets easier, but because your soul has learned to rest. The world might still tremble, but your heart won't. The storm may rage, but it no longer shakes the calm inside you. You've found what every believer longs for, not a faith that avoids pain, but a faith that transforms it. And in that transformation, you realize that the goal of faith was never the miracle itself. It was this: to dwell in him and to let his peace become your home. Part 4, the test between the promises. Every journey of faith has a stretch of silence between what God promised and what you see. It's the space where his word is real, but his work seems invisible. This is the test between the promises. It's not the beginning when you first believe, nor the end when the answer arrives. It is the middle, where waiting refines the soul. Waiting is the hardest classroom of faith because it teaches you to trust timing you don't understand. Abraham waited 25 years for Isaac. Joseph waited 13 years in slavery and prison before the dream became reality. David was anointed king, yet spent years hiding in caves. None of them wasted the waiting. God used it to carve endurance and humility into their hearts. The test wasn't about delay, it was about transformation. We often see waiting as punishment, but heaven sees it as preparation. When God delays, he's not being cruel, he's being careful. He's shaping you for the promise so that when it comes, you won't crumble under its weight. A blessing received too soon can destroy a heart unprepared to carry it. So God pauses, not to withhold, but to strengthen. In the soil of waiting, unseen growth is happening. The truth is, waiting exposes what kind of faith lives inside you. Some pray until heaven answers. Others stop when heaven is quiet. But the ones who endure discover a deeper beauty, the peace that comes not from seeing, but from staying. God doesn't measure your faith by speed. He measures it by stillness. Those who wait learn that the silence of God for the absence of God. To survive this test, God gives you 3 tools. First is his promise. Find a verse, a word, a truth, and hold it like a lifeline. When emotions scream, let scripture speak louder. Abraham held on to nothing but a word, and that word sustained him. Second is discipline. In waiting seasons, consistency matters more than passion. Pray small prayers often. Give thanks for small things. Keep showing up. These simple acts guard your heart while the miracle matures underground. Third is community. Don't wait alone. Even Jesus asked his friends to stay near him in Gethsemane. You need voices that remind you of his goodness when you forget. Waiting is holy work. It breaks pride and builds patience. It tests love and strengthens obedience. It shifts your focus from when will it happen to who am I becoming while I wait, because when you finally step into the promise, you'll realize that the waiting wasn't wasted. It was the womb of everything God was preparing in you. So don't fear the silence. Don't despise the delay. God hasn't forgotten you. The clock you watch is not the calendar. He follows. The promise is still alive, and so is his plan. The waiting is never wasted when your eyes stay on him. Part 5, the story that changed everything. I once met a man whose story mirrored the journey of faith itself. He was a believer, a devoted, sincere soul who loved God deeply, but one season in his life shattered everything he thought he knew about faith. He lost his job unexpectedly, his savings vanished, and his confidence collapsed beneath the weight of disappointment. But what broke him most wasn't the loss, it was the silence that followed. He prayed, fasted, declared God's promises, but the heavens seemed closed. I felt like I was talking to a telos. He told me once, I knew God was real, but I couldn't feel him anymore. At first, his faith was the faith that asks. He prayed with fire in his heart and tears in his eyes, God, please fix this. He begged for open doors, for a breakthrough, for something, anything to change. But days turned to weeks, and nothing happened. His words grew fewer. His prayers turned quieter. Then, one night, something inside him broke, but not in despair. It was surrender. He whispered, God, if you never change my situation, change me instead. That moment marked the beginning of transformation. He moved from asking to trusting. Instead of pleading for answers, He began thanking God for small mercies, the breath in his lungs, the roof over his head, the peace that slowly began to replace his panic. He told me, I realized I had been chasing outcomes, not intimacy. I wanted results, but God wanted relationship. He stopped measuring faith by miracles and started seeing it in endurance. Months later, he began to sense a stillness inside him, a calm that didn't depend on circumstances. His mornings changed. Instead of listing his needs, he sat in silence before God, letting the scriptures breathe over him like morning light. Some days he said nothing at all. Other days, a single verse was enough to fill him. The fear that once ruled his nights faded. The man who had begged God to fix his life was learning how to live in peace even while it was still broken. That was the faith that abides. And then, almost out of nowhere, an opportunity arrived. A friend mentioned his name during a meeting at a company he'd never applied to. They called him, interviewed him, and offered a position. When he told me, he smiled not with triumph, but with quiet joy. The job isn't the miracle, he said. The miracle already happened inside me. I will never forget those words, because that's the power of matured faith. It doesn't need to see the mountain move to believe the mountain maker is near. God didn't just restore his career, he rebuilt his heart. He taught him that peace is not the reward of answered prayers, it's the fruit of trust. Perhaps your story feels like his. Maybe you've prayed, waited, cried, and still see no change. But take heart. Faith doesn't always, sometimes it simply breathes, quietly saying, I still believe. God is still working in the silence, shaping you while you wait. The greatest miracle isn't what changes around you, it's what changes within you. Faith has many beginnings, but only one destination to bring us home to the heart of God. From the cry that asks, to the trust that waits, to the stillness that abides. Every stage was never about proving your strength, it was about discovering His. When you first believed, your prayers were loud, your heart was restless, and you measured miracles by sight. But as the years passed, you learned that true faith doesn't always shout, it sometimes just breathes. It learns to live not by what it sees, but by who it knows. Faith matures in silence, deepens in waiting, and shines most when the world grows dark. It is not the absence of fear, but the refusal to let fear decide your story. It's the quiet courage that whispers, even now I still believe. And one day when you look back, you'll realize that every unanswered prayer, every delay, every long night was never wasted. Each one was a thread woven into the tapestry of your transformation. You'll see that God never left you, simply learned to hear Him in a new way. Faith that never dies is not the one that always wins, it's the one that always stays. It stands when others fall. It hopes when reasons run out. It endures when answers don't come. Because it knows that even when everything fades, one truth remains: God is still faithful. And so, the lamp still burns in the storm. The flame may flicker, but it will never go out.